I'm Haley Taylor, and you're listening to the Rough Draft Diaries. This week on the Rough Draft Diaries, we're returning back to the art studio to talk to local artist Jan Thomas.
My name is Jan M. Thomas, and I'm a hand builder in clay, which means I make sculptures instead of throwing. And I have had a past of being a floral designer and interior designer in Toledo.
As Jan mentioned, throwing means you would place your clay on a wheel and spin the clay while forming your object of choice. Instead, Jan skips the machinery altogether and just uses her hands.
Well, hand building is kind of the oldest way of creating with clay, and that you either use slabs or coils, or you pinch work the clay. You don't throw. It's made with your hand. And that is kind of an important thing to me. Authenticity is really important. And I also don't like symmetry. So my style is kind of a rudimentary, capricious type of a style. And one of the reasons that authenticity is important is because in interior design, I saw a lot of mass-produced decorative art while artists were starving. So original, one-of-a-kind art is really important that my work look that way. So it's not just decorative art. It's made by a person. You can tell it was made by a person, and it's kind of like how I relate to the viewer.
The other positive for Jan in creating a piece with your hands would be the connection you have with the material to actually feel the grooves and the roughness of the clay with your own fingers, to get dirty, essentially.
Well, that's interesting that you say getting dirty, because I'm an avid gardener and I am a real hands-on person, so that might have something to do with it. And the other thing might be that when I was a little girl in Cleveland, my grandfather was a sculptor, which I never realized until a couple of years after I was doing clay. And he used to take me into the cliffs in Cleveland, and we used to dig clay. And he would he would make me sit at the kitchen table and do busts of me. So it's kind of funny how it's kind of come around to that. I think I'm, if there is such a thing, an earth person.
And this connection to the earth is reflected in her art. If you look through Jan's portfolio, you'll notice two recurring themes: women and birds.
I mainly make things that are inspired by art or by nature. So that would be like, what I make is mainly women who are interacting with nature, and they are abstract women, and it looks like they maybe have gone into the woods, and they have birds in their arms, or flowers, or a big fish. There is a reason why I do these. I was kind of forced to define why I make these women interacting with nature. And it's because I feel that both of them have been disparaged by society and cast by the wayside. So I am putting the two together so that people will, just to remind people to think about these things.
It's interesting to note that although Jan incorporates the topic of women's struggle within society throughout her artwork, she feels she hasn't encountered that feeling herself.
You know, I don't really think about that. I don't think that, being a woman and making these pieces that say what they say, that's just the way it is. I don't feel like I'm discriminated against, or about just for being a woman. I have not had any of the sexist type experiences. I stay kind of low to the ground, and I do what I want to do. And if you like it, it's good. It's kind of a gentle reminder. It's just kind of a, if it makes them think about nature, I'm happy, because I have made some pieces there that are a lot more angry, but those aren't the pieces that I put in the galleries. Those would be for maybe a show. But these make me feel good. They make me feel like I'm out in the woods, maybe with them when I'm making them. So I'm really I'm doing these mainly for myself, really.
So Jan continues to simply stay within her lane, making artwork for herself and for others, a place she happily stays within.
I'm really at where I would like to be, and I just hope it continues. And I hope that I'm sure I'm going to be moving on to some other. I already have some other ideas to maybe do some other series. I think 3 galleries and maybe one more, but 3 galleries keeps me busy, and I'm pretty happy with that.
I'm Haley Taylor, and thanks for listening to this episode of the Rough Draft Diaries.